Swimming's never really been my thing. My friends, though, they'd been planning to hit up the pool for months. Every summer is the same deal, but not me. I've always been hesitating about our town swimming pool, and I've got my reasons. The thing is, this pool wasn't always a pool. Before it was turned into the community spot we all know, it was a mental hospital. A mental hospital with a dark, twisted history. People around town joke about it, but I've always believed what I've heard. The place was shut down in the 70s after some huge scandal is said abounded for years. That is until the late 90s when some guy bought it and turned it into a swimming pool. The rumors, the stories, I couldn't shake them. There was something about that place that felt wrong. But it wasn't until I was there standing in that pool that I realized just how right the rumors were. The worst part, the story behind it all goes back to a woman named Mary, and it's way darker than I could have imagined. Mary came to the hospital in the early 70s, about 3 years before it was shut down. She was from Chicago and they say she had some mental health problems. But I don't buy that. Everyone in town always says Mary was possessed, and after hearing the stories from my aunt who worked there as an assistant, I'm starting to think they were right. Mary was brought on in a rainy night, late September. She was coughed and they say that she was out of control. My aunt always said it was more than that. She could see in Mary's eyes. The moment Mary entered the hospital, things changed. Not just for her, but for the other patients too. They all became different. It was like they weren't themselves anymore, like they were all under Mary's control. Mary never spoke. All she did was write. But it wasn't normal writing. It was symbols, creepy, insane symbols, the kind you see in the old horror movies. The doctors tried to diagnose her, but her symptoms didn't match anything in their books. It was like they had never seen anything like her before. Then one October morning, things got worse. My aunt, along with 2 other doctors, opened up the hospital as usual. But what they found was enough to chill anyone to the bone. Every patient was silent. Not one of them spoke, they just stared at the walls. It was like something had happened overnight, something that made them all scared. They couldn't explain it, but they could see it in each other's eyes. They'd all witnessed something the night before, and the thing they knew, it had to do with Mary. My aunt, she knew. She'd seen enough to realize that Mary wasn't just mentally ill, she was possessed. So she convinced the doctor that they need to bring in a priest. The doctors didn't hesitate. They went to the local church for help. That's when things took a turn for the worst. When the priest arrived, every patient in the hospital screamed together. It wasn't like a regular scream, it was more like they were protecting Mary, as if she were their queen and anyone who threatened her was their enemy. The doctor screamed, trying to calm the patients down, but nothing worked. The priest, though, he wasn't afraid. He knew exactly what Mary was, but he said something that still haunts me. She needs to stay here, she's too dangerous for the church. That was a mistake. Each day that passed, the patients got more protective of Mary. It was like their souls belonged to her now. My aunt says that the doctors finally decided to install cameras to figure out what was happening during the night. And what they saw, it was beyond belief. Every night Mary would start singing. It wasn't a normal song, it was something darker. The patient would go to her room and the symbols she'd drawn on the walls, they started appearing everywhere, on the walls of the hospital, in the air, even in the hallways. And then the cameras stopped working. They just cut out, no one could explain it. The priest, knowing this was far beyond anyone's control, called for help from the main church. The church agreed that the symbols needed to be removed, but when the priest tried to take one of Mary's letters, something snapped. For the first time Mary spoke. She said, "These symbols belong to me, my king and my soldiers." The moment she says that, the patient started screaming again. This time it was pure terror. The doctors couldn't stand it. They ran out of the hospital, leaving everyone behind. When they returned, the priest was gone. All that remained was Mary sitting on the floor crying, surrounded by the other patients who were sitting silently, like they were waiting for something. The police eventually got involved. The hospital was shut down for safety reasons, but my aunt always said that there was something more to it. The church didn't want the truth getting out, so they shut it down, knowing that whatever evil was in that hospital needed to stay buried. And then, in the late 90s, it reopened as a swimming pool. Fast forward to that summer day when my friend dragged me into the pool. I knew the history. I had heard the stories, but I never thought it would be real. I jumped into the water trying to brush it off, but something was wrong. The walls of the pool, they were covered in symbols. Symbols I'd heard from my aunt, the same ones that Mary drowned. I tried to ignore it, but the moment I touched the water, I felt it. It was like something was pulling me down. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Panic set in. I thought I was going to drown, and just when I thought it was over, I saw the security guard. He jumped in and pulled me out of the water. I ran home that day, shaken to my core. I haven't spoke a word of what would happen, but I'm telling you now, sometimes legends are real. That pool, it's not just a pool, it's a prison for something far darker. And I don't think it's done with me yet. I've never been the type to believe in ghost stories or supernatural things. I'm the logical one in my group of friends, always looking for a reasonable explanation. So when we heard about the new pool opening up at the old mansion, I didn't think twice. A new place to hang out and cool off in the summer, perfect. I wasn't about to let some silly rumors scare me off, but what happened that day at the pool, I still can't explain it. It was a hot Saturday afternoon, and my friends and I finally made our way to the new pool. The mansion, which had been sitting empty for years, had been renovated into this stunning outdoor pool area. The outhouse looked beautiful now, but there was still something off about it. The air around the pool felt strangely thick, almost oppressive, but I ignored it. We were here to have fun. After about an hour of logging around, I decided to take a swim. The pool was massive, almost too big. I dove in. The water felt colder than I expected and started swimming laps. I was lost in the rhythm movement of it, letting the cool water wash over me. That's when it happened. I was swimming near the deep end, just about to turn around and head back when something tugged at my ankle. I froze. I thought it was just my imagination or maybe a trick of the current. But then it happened again. A sharp, unmistakable pull. It wasn't the water, it was something, someone. My heart started racing. I tried to kick my leg free, but the pull was getting stronger. Panic set in. I twisted my body, trying to shake whatever had a hold of me. But I felt something wrap around my waist, dragging me deeper into the pool. I gasped for air, but the more I struggled, the tighter the grip became. My lungs burned, my body screamed for me to swim upward, to break free from whatever was pulling me down, but it was like the water itself was fighting me. I tried to scream, but the water flowed my mouth, choking me. It feels like forever. Time seems to stretch, bending in ways I couldn't understand. I tried to swim up, but it was like the deeper I went, the more the pressure built. The surface of the water seemed so far away, and the shadows beneath the water only seemed to grow darker and more threatening. The feeling of something or someone grabbing me, holding me down, felt impossibly strong. I kept fighting, but every time I thought I was getting closer to break the surface, the tugging force pulled me back. It was like I was trapped, stuck in some nightmare I couldn't escape from. The struggle felt endless, like I was under the water for hours. The minutes stretched out, feeling like hours of desperate panic. I could barely think straight. My body felt like it was giving out, my arms and legs growing weaker with each failed attempt to get to the surface. The feeling of drowning was unbearable. I kept thinking, this is it, I'm not going to make it. But just as I thought I was done for, I felt a jolt. Someone grabbed me, pulled me up with incredible strength. The force was so sudden it nearly knocked the wind out of me. I gasped for air as I was dragged to the edge of the pool, my chest heaving as I spurted and caught up water. I looked up, disorientated, my eyes stinging from the chlorine, but no one was there. My friends were all standing at the edge of the pool, staring at me in shock. The security guard was there too, but I didn't remember seeing him swimming in. "Are you okay?" one of my friends asked. Her voice was shaky. I looked around confused. I couldn't understand. My body felt heavy, my mind foggy. But the moment I looked up at the clock on the wall above the pool, a chill ran down my spine. It had only been 3 minutes. 3 minutes. It felt like I had been under the water for hours. My limbs were sore, my body exhausted, and the fear that had gripped me was still lingering in my chest. But when I checked the time, the minutes that feel like an eternity were nothing more than a fleeting moment. I tried to tell my friends what happened, but the words didn't come out right. How could I explain something that feels so real, but was over in the blink of an eye? My friends dismissed it, thinking maybe I had just gotten too worked up. But I knew what I felt. Something was wrong with that pool. The rest of the day was a blur. I stayed by the edge, keeping my distance from the deep end, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still in the water, waiting. As the day ended and I finally left the pool, I caught a glimpse of something in the reflection of the water. Something moving beneath the surface. My heart skipped a beat. But when I turned to look, the pool was still calm and empty. Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me, but I couldn't help but wonder, what if something was in the water? What if I had been pulling me down, not just physically, but for a reason? And maybe the scariest thought of all, what if it hasn't done with me yet? That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I could still feel the pool. I could still feel the grip on my legs, dragging me deeper, even though I knew I had only been in the water for 3 minutes. But I couldn't forget how it felt, and I didn't think the pool would ever let me go.